All right, so welcome everybody. This is the August update, August 2022 for Acquire Integration Partners monthly update, just to show the progress of worker proposal Acquire Integration Partners. Real quick, we've got quite a bit going on. This is in addition to July, so this is signed MOUs quarter to date. We're currently sitting at 93 points. Just 38 close points for this month. Pillar, which is a wallet. Freckle.live is a blockchain-based game. Infinity Wallet, Origin, also a gaming protocol. Deepcoin, which did a listing, and then Block4. I'll talk about that one kind of then. It's a unique integration that kind of led from our connection with EOS Rio to an entity called Block4 down in Brazil that is providing a massive amount of NFTs for the Rock in Rio Music Festival, which is a very famous festival. It's been going on since 1985. So we'll talk about that and kind of what that integration will lead to. But you can see the breakdown here, starting from Pillar down. Everything above Pillar on the screen was from July. And then August, you can see what was added as well. One bonus on Max Point, Deepcoin. I mean, they were classed as a C, but they did a listing for no charge and no market maker needed. So that was a win there without having to spend any funds for an obviously still in talks for the protocol integration itself, but they were able to do the listing. So you can see the breakdown there. And these that are expected to close by the quarter end. CryptoSpace and CryptoMex, those are two entities. They're separate business entities, but they were started by the same group. One specifically for Mexico and Latin America, and one CryptoSpace. They have to focus on U.S. regulations. Those are D-class exchanges. They're going to do an integration with Dashboard, FioSend. We haven't explored. They're going to look to see if they can do token support. Their unique concept in terms of Dashboard is going to be important for them because they don't manage the user's wallets. So they're kind of a mix between a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange. And in terms of they provide all the liquidity, but the user connects their own wallet to it. So they are interested in doing that. Luke had talked to Sterling at CryptoSpace a long time ago, and Sterling and I reconnected recently a couple months ago. So those should close by the end of the month, if not end of the month, definitely end of the quarter. And then Casper, reason I have Casper right here is they've already signed the MOU, but Casper is an entity where they have a community of developers, but the developers don't work directly for them. So they're sourcing out who they're going to pay to do the integration. So until they confirm that and we can get some more specifics around it, it's still going to stay in this category, not counting it as closed until that until a signed MOU, until that happens, because that wasn't made clear when the MOU was initially signed by them, and it was revealed right after. So that's why we kind of held up. Just as of today in the Telegram chat there, they have a few meetings lined up to see who's going to provide that for them. Reveal is a security company that is doing some additional things for NFT protection, NFT data, and they really like what we're doing with NFT signatures. So this is going to be an interesting integration that we're exploring. They want to work with us, so we're in talks, expecting to close that one by the end of the month. What it'll look like as far as elements and we don't really have it clear yet, but we're defining that. Starship is part of an NFT project that is launching at the end of next month. So we're looking to be providing signatures for that. So that one's also going to be a unique one, classed as a D. And Ola is working on Bitbox Exchange as well. We should be able to finalize that one by the end of the quarter. And Mac as well with Status. He feels he should be able to close that one as well. We're in ongoing talks right now, Crypto.com and Binance US. Now, Binance US has gone kind of silent on us recently. Crypto.com is communicative. We've had a couple of calls. They're setting up another call. They've asked us to provide a little bit more information. We'll have to set up a separate steering committee call for that one. They don't They don't charge a listing fee, but are looking for a certain amount in marketing. And, so there will be some cost there. And we're talking to them about a full integration into their platform. So that conversation is still moving along. It's not going to be a quick, easy close, but it's something that we're moving towards as well. I had added this bottom bullet point. I forgot to take it off beforehand. But that was so up to 700,000 NFTs. This is not in talks. They've signed the MOU. So up to 700,000 NFTs. So in other words, this is a 9-day music festival event, all different genres from all over the world. And each day, each attendee has to have a ticket for each day they want to attend. So every ticket is going to entitle that holder to claim an NFT that's provided by Block 4, which is a 3D customized bracelet based on each genre of music. And the history behind that, the Rock in Rio Festival for years has been giving away wristbands at the events for attendees that were kind of like a collectible item. They stopped doing that a few years ago. They're never going to go back to that, but they're going to be announcing that they're doing these bracelets, and we're going to be able to attach a signature to that. So some really good learnings from this. Working with Eric, and Eric was able to look at different options on how do we provide signatures for all of those NFTs. And, we can sign the contract on that. So you don't have to sign 700,000 individual NFTs. Even if we were having to sign, there is a way to sign up to 3 NFTs per bundle transaction. So we learned a lot in the process, and this is going to help us both from an experience standpoint of, okay, this is what we have possible. And then also as we talk to potential upcoming clients of this is something that we were able to do. This is, just to show just some proof that this is what we can do. Now, Block 4 is a white label solution. They provide NFT marketplaces for these entities. So they're providing an NFT marketplace for Rock in Rio. They're providing an NFT marketplace for soccer clubs and other big stars and musicians and things like that. So this was the Rock in Rio was the first agreement with them, but we're looking for it to be kind of a long-term partnership as we can work our protocol, both NFT signatures are mainly going to be on the back end because users aren't necessarily creating the NFTs, but they're purchasing them, reselling, and withdrawing. So they'll be able to verify the NFT signature. They'll be able to eventually register a crypto handle using the dashboard integration or native integration. They're exploring both. And then also when they're able to send, they'll be able to send those NFTs using the FIO send feature. So that's what we're looking at incorporating into future integrations with them as well. So that was that was what what we've closed and we're expecting to close by the end of the quarter. Really good, really good quarter. Our goal was 75 quota points per quarter, and I want to talk about a few things in there, and then I'll see if anybody has any questions. So our B2B dashboard partner progress, that is, I've got a list of them that I've got together. Already sent a couple to GP for landing pages. I mentioned some of these at the end of last month. It's kind of a slow process, and GP doesn't have as much time to dedicate to dashboard landing page, so it's taken a little longer to get some of these. But Float, they're a social media platform. Cryptocurrency is a news media platform. Now, Do What You Love artist Joshua Paintings, targeting probably early October with those two. Those are artists, NFT creators that I'm in talks with of what it would take for them to be able not only utilize our protocol and have a dashboard landing page, but to onboard other artists, because they work with other artists to teach them how to migrate from physical art also into NFT digital art, and also how to blend the two when you combine like physical art with NFTs. So they're working with those. So those are coming up. DappRadar, we're still in talks with. They are a data aggregate site for dApps, to where they initially just want to support the FIO token data on there. But now the talks are ongoing to where they want to talk sometime again this week or next week. Again, where we're talking about a dashboard integration partner where users can go to DappRadar and get the aggregate on information. It's not just dApps, they also have a huge NFT section. So just to be able to provide some data, some information on what the FIO protocol is, how it can be used, and then allowing them to link to a dashboard. We're also in talks with Apix, is another social media platform. They're also launching NFT marketplace. Targeting by the end of September, we should be able to have them going. And then blockchain gaming, BCG.GG. It is a again, this is going to be like a gaming aggregate data site that is going to be a dashboard partner that we're looking at, around mid-September to finalize that once we get their landing page set up. Couple things for discussion. Dashboard capacity. I know that GP has been able to deliver each one I've asked them for so far in a decent fashion, but the concern is just to be able to continue those if we bring them a ton at once. So we're testing out a few. I got to make sure that there's no bugs in them before we bring them more. Also, I'm not looking for a budget increase, but one of the things that I wanted to bring up is in the past, we've paid someone, we've had Siraj in the capacity in the past of getting leads. And one of the things, let me get out of here real quick. I'll pull it up. This is just kind of a proposal of kind of a sales lead bounty. Now, this is something I was thinking would only be available to internal people that already are on someone's worker proposal at FIO. So say someone from the dev team or like a Dill has been instrumental in that Rock in Rio case, to be able to pay them almost like a bounty for the lead if it turns into an integration. If they just turn us over a lead and it doesn't lead to any business, we're not looking to pay for that. But these were some numbers I kind of threw together based on our current rate of integrations and bounties that are paid out. Adding this would not put us over budgeting. So it's not like I need to ask for a budget increase to do some sort of a referral lead generation type program. But I wanted to kind of, pick everybody's brain here, see what they thought about it. Is that something that sounds feasible? Is there something I'm not thinking of when it comes to that? Obviously, I'll have to track that. But right now, for instance, like I said, I use a Dill as an example because he's brought us the Rock in Rio deal. There's another the largest Latin American crypto exchange, Mercado Bitcoin, is also in talks with us right now. And if we close those, we want to be able to reward the team. They're out there already talking about FIO, sharing information. So when they have leads, they can pass on to the BD team. I don't want them to be the ones trying to close the leads, but if they can pass it on, we should be able to reward them in the same fashion that we were rewarding somebody that was on the BD team that was generating leads, except in this case, they're not just getting paid for generating the lead. It would be once the lead is closed and it's turned into a signed MOU, and it's also would be paid in lock tokens as well. So that's part of what I was looking at. As I mentioned, don't need a budget increase for that because as of right now, still can work that into the existing budget. Siraj has left the BD team as a paid rep. He was originally being paid for lead generation, and then said he wanted to go as a rep without any base pay. He eventually then asked to come back on. But he's only going to do, he had stepped out for a minute. We talked again. He's going to do basically a BD rep with no base pay, work occasionally to bring in an integration partner and get paid, but he has no KPI. So he's no longer on the budget. So I was already in talks with needing to bring somebody on, even if it's on a, whether it's a full-time or part-time basis, but I've got a list of reps that that I'm exploring to bring in to put, again, no increase in the budget, going to reallocate some of that budget from there to onboard a new rep, and got some, a couple of people with a ton of sales experience in this type of work in other industries that also have a great understanding of crypto. The last thing kind of to discuss, and I'll leave this on the screen after to open it up to anybody, is revisiting FIO send only integrations. We're going through those right now, reaching back out, trying to start those conversations. This is mentioned at last month's monthly update, because those don't really add a lot of value for our integration partner. There's really not much of an incentive for them to even support any updates to it. And then also, because there is no revenue structure for them or us after getting FioSend integrated, there's a few applications where FioSend only makes sense. Outside of that, it just really doesn't make sense. I would also challenge, I know the steering committee is probably going to look at Emily's list of stale MOUs. Some of those grant amounts for FioSend only were signed back when we were paying quite a bit more. And if you look at what those token amounts are based on the current value of the token, how many tokens that would be, some of those MOUs where they're stale, they have not met their agreements. If they're FioSend only, I know that's going to be up to the steering committee to decide what to do with those, but I think that those, they've already missed deadlines of the MOU to be valid. So I'd recommend we definitely take that into consideration, look at the grant amounts for those, because some of it's quite a bit of money and it's not going to add a lot of value unless we can, come with new agreements, if any of those are still willing to talk about integrations to do further than just FioSend. So that's not really, in essence, tied to RBD. The MOUs were already signed, but Emily and I talked about that earlier, and I was going through the list, and it seems like there's some of those that the value is not there unless we can get them to commit to more. Some of them may not even be willing to talk. With the market condition the way it is now, some of the people we were dealing with may just not even be in positions anymore to where we have anyone to contact or the right person in contact right now that we've got to explore. So that was really it for the presentation. I'll stop and see if anybody has any questions or any comments or wants to discuss anything for the month of August or anything else I mentioned.
I'll jump in. Wayne, first of all, I think this is great. Thank you so much for pulling this together. I guess I have a question that maybe kind of goes back a handful of slides closer to the beginning of your presentation. Maybe back to the slide that was looking at all of the deals that you guys have closed based on category. Exactly, perfect. So I think that this is like incredibly respectable. I know that at least on the marketing side, we have MOUs coming in left and right, against which we're coordinating partner marketing campaigns. Is there, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, I'm just curious, and maybe we can talk about this offline as well, but is there a strategy in place? And I know that budget is tight right now, but is there a strategy in place to try and focus more on acquisition of A+ category partners moving forward, the best that we can, to the best of our ability?
Yeah, the thing with A and A+ is there's not many out there because it's really only part of the classification is the top tier of certain categories. So those are the ones that I mentioned in the talk. We're in talks with Finance US and Crypto.com. There's others. It's safe to say the Mercado Bitcoin would probably be classed as an A as we go through it. So now each one of those is not included from the proposed budget change that we did. It's not included in our monthly and quarterly budget for integration grants. That each one of those would have to be presented to the steering committee separately. So my guess is there's probably going to be one coming soon for Crypto.com as those conversations move along. But yeah, there is a plan, and we're still going after A and A+. And we have to be careful because some of those A and A pluses don't really bring the same value we could probably get from some B and C's, because you see some of these, most of the wallets and exchanges are seeing declining users, declining volume, and a lot of it has to do with the bear market. But some of them have been declining even before the bear market took in, if you look back at further data. So we're still going after those. Obviously, the probably the C and D are the ones that are more apt to talk and open to talking. B's, are solid ones. I've even told the team I'd take a C or a D that's willing to do a full integration that's maybe in growth mode and they're growing. If I had to choose between that or an A or A+ that just wants to do FioSend, which has no value to the chain or to our usage or to our partnership with them. But that doesn't negate the fact that we are focusing on A and A+, but there's really not that many to go after.
That makes sense. Awesome. Thank you.
And the Infinity wallet here, is that a different Infinity than the one we had from mainnet?
Yeah, Ola. Well, no, Ola did an add-on. That's why it's only one integration.
Oh, gotcha.
Ola had an add-on to that one, so it's the same one. They just added another feature, so that was and I had to pull it just to make sure it wasn't one that Emily had upgraded, but on the MOU it was Ola had got them to commit to that one too.
So my key question is, I would like to see, Wayne, on those monthlies, a much closer focus on the budget,
Okay.
in terms of what was the target, and where did we actually come in. So I just real quickly pulled up actuals versus budget for August. And I don't know if this is correct or not, but it shows that the integration grants are like $95,000 over budget. So how can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, with some of these, they're going to be paid whenever, some of these were in talks long before. So I can, going forward, I definitely, I've got a budget tracking sheet for that, but yes, I mean, I'm going to
Well,
have,
so one thing to clarify here, Pavo, if you're pulling it up from Jira and the actual payments, keep in mind the payments that are made in any month for integration grants are based on grants that were given months ago.
yeah, it's kind of hard to, I mean, I am tracking it to see, but some of the July and August even ones were done, and then we went and did a budget adjustment. But going forward, that's something I'm very cognizant of, as we bring in new integration.
Yeah, I think Wayne, what would be useful is like in this table would be to have, another table
Grant
that
amount.
shows the grants and totals them up
Yeah,
of what's being committed to. But Pablo, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm honestly not sure how we think about managing, the difference between the accrued obligation and the payments. Payments are only made once there's some exceptions to this, but by and large,
most, yeah.
the payments are only made when the integrations are completed.
Yeah, so I think we have to find a way to do this, because that's a big kind of like a surprise, right? And the other piece, I know it's not in your worker proposal. There looks like $100,000 over budget for promote fee and in locked fee. I'm assuming that's partner marketing, which is kind of related. But I think we have to find a way. We can't just blow through $200,000 above budget without having any way to reconcile that. Maybe the steering committee needs to decide, well, if we've already committed to such a large number of tokens, maybe we should be not committing anymore or something like that, right? It's just, I feel like we have to find a better way than just having those surprises, which are swings of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, they're not surprises when it comes to the cash flow plan, because in the cash flow plan, I have a row that pulls from Emily's spreadsheet for the forecast on actual grant payouts. So the forecast on the cash flow planning I do, so in the budget, spreadsheet includes both the budgeted amount per month from the acquire integration partners budget, which would be sort of accrued obligations, right? And it assumes those in the most conservative way, meaning it actually acts like all those funds are spent in the money in the month the obligation was made, which of course isn't going to happen, but it's just not possible to know exactly when, if all those commitments were made, that it would be spent. But then it also includes a row 52, that says listing integration fees based on MOUs. So that's the actual expenditures that Emily is currently forecasting about the timing of when existing MOUs are going to actually become an obligation that has to be paid.
No, I hear you. I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way I don't know, is that only my concern or do others on the steering committee have a similar concern?
I mean, Wayne can only manage obligations. So that's what he has to manage. Now we can make other decisions, but at the end of the day, given what he does, he can only thing he can manage is commitments that are made and the value of the commitments that are made, that's what he controls. He doesn't have control over the timing of the completion of the integrations.
So the budget for integration grants, is that representing the commitments?
the budget exactly that's what it represents is the commitments. It has to. What else can he manage to? He can't.
No, I understand that that Wayne needs to have a target for how much he can commit to. I'm just saying from a budget tracking standpoint, we're basically saying here's how much tokens we're going to spend in each month, right, for integration grants. And that's not really true because that's just commitments made today. They may not materialize for 6 months or 12 months or whatever, right?
Correct. And they're based on the token price at the time that, that happens. So, yeah, I mean, that's why we went through this process that Emily's now implementing of sunsetting older integration grants that haven't integrated yet and are past their commitment time frame. Because we don't want those obligations hanging out there forever because they were given at a different token price time frame. But so from the standpoint of a surprise, if Emily is keeping, which I think she is, her tracking sheet up to date every month, I've asked her to update that to minimum monthly towards the end of the month. Then that gets pulled right into the cash flow or the FIO flow plan in terms of what she's forecasting. Well, let me actually share my screen because I
Yeah, that's what I got on the screen now is Emily's sheet.
yeah, but let me just share.
Yeah, give you capability too. All right, you should be able to do it now.
I mean, I agree with Pavo, and I think the
So-
goal would be to
Let me
easily
just let me finish this so everybody's on the same page here. So this is the FIO flow tab. It includes a forecast for integration grants. This is what Wayne's budget is based on a 5 cent token price in FIO tokens. It does it in dollars, but it's based on an assumption of FIO token price. This is his budget. And it has that in here. It has us burning those tokens at an assumed 5 cents. It has us burning them in the month that the obligations are made, which is not the case. So it's a very conservative assumption from that standpoint, because that's not going to happen. It then also includes in the FIO flow the actual forecast from Emily. These totals here is from Emily's tracking sheet, based on her forecast of timing of when these obligations would be made and based on an assumption of token price, which is at 5 cents in this particular spreadsheet. I haven't updated it yet for August. So it's all baked into the FIO flow. So at least from the standpoint of surprises, there shouldn't be any surprises on the lifeline of FIO tokens. Now, from a tracking standpoint, to understand, are we over budget or not, I do think, Wayne, you should every month report on here was the value of the grants that we gave. Here's how it compares to the budget, which is in the worker proposal, which is based on commitments that he's making, the value of those commitments.
Right.
And then the accrued number and the payments made, would that fall under Emily's review?
As soon as there's a signed MOU, it gets added to her tracking sheet. It becomes an accrued obligation, and she adds it to her forecast here.
Okay, so yeah, I think that may work if we perhaps just track. If you can, Wayne, just say, hey, here's what budget was for signed MOU quote unquote grants and what we had budgeted and what we actually granted in a month, and then probably similar ask would be for Emily to say, hey, here's what was accrued going into the month and how much of that has been paid out in a month.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the best way of doing that.
And remember that the vast majority of these MOUs, any grants are the vast majority of them are based on a dollar value. And then based on a token price that's established based on when the integration was actually released. So it is, there may be a few exceptions to that, but the vast majority are based on dollar value. And so the amount of actual FIO tokens is a bit of a moving target. And obviously, if I come up here and I change this estimate to 4 cents, all these numbers go up by 20% down here, right?
Well, because you're looking at FIO tokens and the JIRA budget is actually already tracking in dollars. So
Right.
that's fine. It's just showing me, that we spend $87,000 or $95,000 in FIO tokens, right? In August versus budget of,
Yeah,
like
I'd have to go, yeah,
that's-
and obviously we have to
Yeah.
dissect. There
And
was
I-
obviously, there was a large expenditure with, well, actually, we already paid for Huobi, so that wasn't Huobi, I don't think.
And Ash, the 100,000 on promote FIO in locked tokens, is that partner marketing or what is that?
I was actually just typing out a message to you because I'm not sure where that is specifically coming from. So Pava, maybe you and I need to connect. Honestly, since I came on board, every single month, we've either been exactly on budget or under budget. I do know that in August, we distributed 100,000 FIO tokens, not USD equivalent, to xt.com, but that was also accounted for / offset in our total. My
Oh,
total
you're
DAO
right.
55
You're
worker
right.
proposal.
You're right. That is actually in tokens. Sorry, I was, yeah, you're right. That is
It's
in
like $4,000.
Yeah. You're right. Sorry about that.
No,
Okay.
no problem.
Yeah, that's in FIO, of course. I think I have the sign incorrect on that. I have to fix that. So, okay.
I also think though it should be I mean, we should be able to see from Wayne's presentation what your cumulative is as well. I think month to month won't tell us much in terms of data, but is there a way to just show, even if it's next to a cumulative obligations or liabilities or whatever we're calling it, versus what the budget was? Even if that doesn't shake out because things change downstream, at least we know you're under budget, right? That's the only
Yeah.
way I think I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah, I'll add that. And really tracking
Okay.
the quarter would probably be better because
Sure.
like the obligations of what's expected to close next month is going to be much lower. Not,
Right.
probably a third or less of what we've done. So the shakeout could be the same, and there's going to be some months where we'll have more. But I can tell you all that it's also not just about getting MOUs just to get more integration partners. I continue to tell the team constantly that we're focusing on integrations that are going to add value to us. Someone just wants to integrate the dashboard and bury it in a dApp browser on their wallet. That's not any value to us. So it doesn't matter if they're a B or C or even A. We're not going to pay for that. We're only going to pay for the ones that are going to drive more awareness of the FIO protocol, more usage, more on chain. So that's what our focus is. And I'll definitely start doing a cumulative total. I think maybe tracking the quarter instead of the month would be better, because I think it's going to come in spurts where we'll see some, really good months, some months that, we're working through conversations. But yeah, I'll definitely add the dollar value tracking of the MOU.
Yeah, because the integration grants where it actually hits, it is actually your worker proposal. It's not Emily's, right?
Mhm.
So like the 132,500 actual for August, that is hitting your worker proposal. So I think it'd be in making your worker proposal be, 87,500 above budget. So I think it'd be important to kind of track that cumulative commitments as well
Okay.
and review those here.
And I mean you have those questions you wanted to go through, Wayne, and I don't want to distract from that, but
Oh.
when you say you're working on integrations that add value, I very much would like to know how that's defined, because I'm working on a lot of these integrations now with you guys. And honestly, I don't know what the value is of some of these. And so maybe it would just be helpful to me at some point, and maybe this may not be the forum for it, but what that means, because signing, doing 200,000 NFT signatures nets the foundation $100. That, I mean, are we talking, so that's not the value, the fees. If not the fees, what are we doing with these? Like, what is the end goal? Because we've talked about needing to get revenue or do something or raise the token price. So if it's just getting visibility and therefore hoping that the token price goes up, the more we do these integrations with these games and get more marketing, oomph out of that, that's cool with me as well. But I would just like to know kind of where we stand when I go into these so I can push or nudge in the right direction. If we're trying to sell domains, some of these don't even mention domains, right? So that's
Yeah,
that's
Eric, and I want to echo that. I think it is the right forum, and I kind of brought this up last time, and I think this is a topic that we should be discussing. As if you look at it from a dollar spend standpoint, and I know that some of those commitments been made in the past, so I get that, but that represents a huge portion of our budget. Those payments to the integration partners, and then of course on top of that is all of the salaries to the group. So I think, I know we have the quota points, which I think is a good goal, but I agree. What else are we looking at to determine whether those dollars are well spent on the integration? For example, would it be better to take $50,000 from the integration grants and award them to marketing? Would that yield us more revenue? I mean, what is the ultimate success measure beyond the quota points, which are kind of more like, hey, we're signing up partners, then that's great, but how are those translating to some of our core objectives?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there are different aspects of that. I mean, the NFT signatures alone is not a lot of value, but we're driving more usage of that feature that needs to be used to drive more awareness of the FIO protocol, to drive more awareness of our crypto handles and domains. And even the ones that are doing NFT signatures, that's not a big spend on those. It's also about using the dashboard to allow users to onboard domains, to onboard their own crypto handles. So it's to get more usage out of the chain. That's what those integrations are for. Being able to quantify that into a dollar value compared to what we spend on integration, that's really hard to do because we're paying for that partnership for them to integrate. Our protocol is more effective the more places it is, the more places that people can use it. There's added value as we go along. I see those integration grants eventually getting less and less. They've already come down substantially just in the last month from what they were prior. But it's one of those things that, it's not clearly defined. I see its values. Anything that's either going to add more on-chain usage, add more awareness of the protocol, drive more people to look at what FIO is, which should impact the token price at some point, because the token is what powers our governance, is what powers our protocol. So that's what I'm looking at as far as when I say value, as opposed to FIO SYN. And if you think about FIO SYN, it's a good feature, but it doesn't really do anything for us or for our integration partner in the long term. There's no ongoing revenue for anybody from that FIO SYN. It's just showing users how to withdraw. So that's what I'm talking about when I say just that, or someone that just wants to do a listing with no protocol integration. There's really 99% of the cases there. David and I had conversations about this. There's no value in just the listing of our token unless it's going to drive a lot of awareness. But even Huobi, listings in a bear market don't really do you much good either. So when I say value, I'm talking about it's going to drive those things. Now, the dollar value spent on an integration may not equate to, okay, if we're just looking at what we're making in revenue off of NFT signatures, may not be a lot. But if it spawns more users to use our protocol to get their crypto handles, to get their own domains, then that's the end result. But that is something that our first goal is to get the integration, and then from those integration partners, them getting that in front of their users and helping drive more awareness of those features within their product or whatever it is.
So Wayne, give us an idea. How much commitments have you made in August for MOU grants. Do you have that tracked somewhere?
Yeah, it is, let's see. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to find the updated one because the one I have in front of me is missing the last four, but I know I updated it on a copy. What was it you were coming up with? How you said it was like 90. I'm showing like 84.
Well, it's, it's granted versus budgeted. So I don't know what the commitments is that you've
For you-
made.
for you to
I
get
know your
your-
commitment is, your budget is $45,000 locked and 17.5 liquid, right? So what does that come out to? Maybe like $60,000, $62,000.
Yeah.
That's your budget. Now, I don't know if you granted all of it or some of it or what the case
No,
is, but that's the budget, right? So that's what I think I am
Well-
looking for, is obviously whatever commitments we've made in the past, we already made those commitments and we have to, pay up on those integrations. But for any new commitments, that I think is the question of what is the value of those partners in relation to the amount being spent, especially that we are now, which is something that we haven't been doing in the past, more closely looking at FIO tokens spent as well, not just US dollars spent. And also that, all of that money is actually, I think it's safe to say, spent. I mean, I would venture, I have no data, but I would assume that most of those partners actually spend those tokens as soon as they become unlocked, which means you basically have, that's what, $750,000 worth of FIO hitting the exchanges in a year, right? Maybe not a lot, but that certainly is going to have an impact on the price. So I'd like to know that, there is a bigger impact on price upwards by doing this activity, and that's really why I'm asking those questions. And I'm not sure, Eric, if that's kind of in line with what you're thinking, or.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne, unless you've been
Well, my
tracking. this
total
like-
has is 84,000, but I'm also looking at the quarter and not the month. Like I'm not gonna spend all of next month's budget next month with what's in the hopper right now.
Yeah, and I
So,
think that's fair. I mean, you can sort of think of it quarterly, but I mean, you'll have to, if you're not already doing this, create a little tracking sheet where every time an MOU is signed, you just log it in with the amounts. I mean, Emily puts that into
Oh.
hers. So you can also grab it out of that if you don't want to create another one, but
yeah.
that's where you get the totals for the commitments.
Well, I added it on my grant sheet that I have, but I must have added the last few on a different copy that I had because I made a few copies of that one. So, but just adding up what I just looked at for August, it's right around 84,000. And a big, a chunk of that we were under budget, and then of course the Rock and Rio one is one that we signed to go a little bit over. But some of these are not going to be live. Even part of the Rock and Rio one is not going to be implemented for a few months. The NFT signatures are being done right away.
Well, and Pavo, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're taking it up even a higher level. Like we're spending money to do these integrations with kind of an unknown return on those integrations. To really actually, it doesn't simplify things. On the FIO chain, there are two things that net us revenue. That is FIO crypto handles and domains. And FIO crypto handles aren't even recurring revenue. So really domains are the big value ones. And we tend to give away all of our crypto handles. But if there's some funnel, because NFT signatures, no matter how many you mint at our current price, and maybe this is a strategy to increase the price or encourage our BPs to, but no matter how many you mint, it's de minimis, like it's $50 for, or millions, right?
Well, keep in mind,
Well,
just fair there, Eric. I mean, the presumption is that for them to sign something, they have to have a FIO crypto handle. So there is a registration crypto handle, and depending on how the integration is being done, the presumption is that some of the creators who are signing will choose to register their own domain. Now,
That's what I mean, though.
It has to be
David,
proven out.
Yeah, if that's the funnel, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, we are signing up NFT signatures to funnel them to, say, like the dashboard, and they say, oh, here's your NFT signature. Wouldn't you like to have your own crypto handle with, or, you got this signed thing from Rock in Rio. Would you like to sign your own NFTs or something like that? But we don't have that. Like, we're just kind of signing up and letting float, which is kind of what we do. Like, we don't take it to, like, where are we leading these users, and are we capturing them to either get an address, and it got to be great if they actually bought one, but if they're just getting a free address, okay, then we need to funnel them to buy a domain, right? Like, at some point we need to get revenue out of them and really focus on that. That's, if I was to really simplify it, that's what I think we need to be looking at. And does this acquisition of this partner, get us closer to that or not, right? Because if we're just giving away addresses forever and renewing bundles, I mean, Opera is great, but there's no revenue out of that right now either, right? Like, are we funneling those users, which there's thousands and thousands to get domains, or I don't know. This is where I get nervous about our model.
I think, to be fair and accurate, and of course, the reality is some of the stuff you just don't know because there's no way to track it. But to say there's no income from Opera, I would suspect is not an accurate statement. The problem is we don't know, and there's no way for us to know exactly what the impact is of the Opera relationship, just using that as an example on the token price. But there's a lot of
different topic though, David. I'm really just talking about revenue. Token price is a whole different thing, and we can do stuff to increase token price, though we don't have anyone leading that right now. But that would be awesome. But I really, if that's why we're doing integrations, is like, look, this is just about token price. Don't worry about revenue. Tell me that, and I'm fine. But I also think, like, what if we spent 40,000 FIO or $40,000 a month really trying to get people to buy domains when we're actually cutting marketing budget for them?
No, I think that's it's a great perspective. If we should at least have clarity if we're doing this integration, solely because we really think it's just gonna, drive awareness to token price. We should have clarity on that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. And always, playing that off versus, well, what are our alternatives, right? We certainly have to start doing some things. I agree 100% that do generate domain sales. We've been talking about that, for a while, because those will also generate token interest, right? But we're not doing that enough yet.
Yeah,
and maybe there is a way to capture those users, right? Like 700,000 NFT signatures. Like, is there a way? That would be awesome, right? And if so, then you can really start putting dollar signs next to that.
Yeah, I would say, there's a couple things, at least from my perspective here. I think that just to kind of start with the more granular, Eric, to your point on the Rock in Rio agreement, I think there's an opportunity to, and Wayne, I've talked to you about this personally, so I don't think any of this would come as a surprise in terms of my perspective and opinion. I think there's an opportunity to, I think kind of step one is to reimagine a bit the MOUs that we do write in terms of making sure that we are focusing on any sort of rev gen positive structure, be that through, I guess, lower rev per user, higher frequency via crypto handle registration, or through to, higher rev, lower user domain sales. I think that's an opportunity. I think there might also be an opportunity, and Wayne, I know you and I have talked about this a bit, even with a broader group, to potentially even go so far as, from a strategic perspective, restructuring the way that the current integration grants are sort of assigned or approved, just to make sure that, again, we are prioritizing opportunities that are could possibly generate higher revenue in the long term, even if that is, to your earlier point, Wayne, someone who's currently categorized as like a C or a D, but they're in growth mode and they have like, a very solid business plan, a very solid roadmap, XYZ. I think there could be some opportunity to reconsider, restructure grant proposals, integration grants in that regard. And then I think beyond that, something that I'm not sure if this would fall with the steering committee or Wayne, this would be potentially beneath your dominion, but I'm looking at, Dow 238 right now from a KPI perspective, and we do have KPIs in there from sort of income generated perspective for Q3, Q4, and so on. But they are strictly, kind of based on domain sales. So I wonder if it wouldn't be worth at least the exercise to go through some sort of forecast with the sort of mentioned recommendations included, in terms of like, okay, well, here's the revenue we think we might be able to generate if we, as an example, I don't know, I'm just kind of like speaking off the cuff here, no longer distribute free crypto handles and everyone has to register one, and that would be, $2 per, something to that extent, maybe zooming out a bit and playing around with alternative revenue streams, I suppose. I don't know, just some ideas, at least from the marketing side. I'm not BD, but just some things I've been thinking through.
I agree with that, Ash. I think that's kind of what would probably help me as well, is if we can maybe come up with very specific goals that we're trying to accomplish with those integrations, kind of going back to Eric's point, and maybe it's not quota points, right? Maybe it is number of domains registered, or maybe even number of FIO addresses registered, crypto handles registered, right? Maybe that is a metric, even if they're free, right? At least we can look at this and say, okay, well, those integrations are actually doing something, right? They're actually activity, because I would think that the reason to do an integration has to be either PR effect, right? It's like, there's so many of them, or they're so big that it kind of has this PR effect on the protocol as a whole, because, we sign up that integration is being used and we talk about it, and, that just basically grows everything, right? So that's either that has to be a goal, or the goal has to be that we register domains, right, which we all think is important, or we register FIO crypto handle, even though they're free. Maybe at least it is some indicator of usage, or we can apply the active FIO crypto handle definition, which I know we had some problems with, because maybe the answer is, and this is what I've been saying in the past, is that there isn't that much value in some of the smaller players like the C's and D's. I think we've accomplished, in my opinion, we've reached this critical mass of integrations. Or what is it, like 60, 70 right now that we have, or something, that maybe it's not really as beneficial to get another D wallet to announce that they have integrated FIO, even though nobody's ever heard of it. Maybe it makes more sense to, try to find the big players, or really just try to find players which are going to get registrations, period, of either FIO crypto handles or ideally domains. And there is actually a refer program that we are thinking of kickstarting on the dashboard side, which would make it very easy to support TPIT payments off of domain registrations through the dashboard. And maybe that's our incentive model, as anybody can sign up. And of course, you guys can, still seek out the people and let them know about it. And they don't get paid any integration grant. They just get 50% of whatever domain sales they drive through the dashboard.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, Pavel, I mean, you said you have domains, you have few addresses. I think dashboard registrations is a great metric. Like we just talked to TCG World, and if they're just going to link off, we capture those users, then we can market to them, then we can sell them stuff and actually track what they buy. So maybe that's a great metric, because when it's just passive out there and they're just doing it all themselves, maybe that's not a great model.
So yeah, I know we're almost out of time here, so I don't think we're going to resolve it. But what I
Yeah.
would ask you, Wayne, is if you can put some thought cycles onto this, because I know, at least from me, it's going to be coming up on every review.
Yeah.
So let's maybe try to rethink this a little bit and say, how could we potentially make this better in achieving our goals?
But Bob, I also don't want to put the entire field business model on Wayne's shoulders, I think, right? Like, we also have to think about what the best revenue model is and how we get those users and what those goals are, right? Like, I'm not sure that's a
Sure. But at the same time, the steering committee's objective is to determine if a particular worker proposal needs to, will continue to receive funding. And that's really in that vein, right?
Yeah.
And I'm inclined to say, hey, you know, longer term, I just don't necessarily think that that's the right way to look at it. So that's really all I'm trying to tackle, is I'm not pushing like everything onto Wayne, but it's just like, say, hey, in terms of what you are doing, what your worker proposal is doing with the money you're getting, can we shift this in such a way where we're actually accomplish more of what the steering committee wants to accomplish, which is, you know, revenue in, right, rather than just pure integrations.
Yeah, no, 100%, probably. Wayne, did you show your KPIs on your report there? Did I miss? I don't know if that, because I remember you talking about like domain revenues and revenue and stuff like that in the past. So that would definitely be helpful, because maybe these ongoing discussions like we did in mine, like, is this a valuable KPI, are the first things we got to be talking about, right, Pavel? That's what you're saying. And
yeah, and that was my first comment, is I definitely think that every worker proposal review needs to basically loop back to hear what my KPIs are.
Yeah.
And here's what the targets were, or what it was last month, and here's what we've done against it. To me, that's a must, right? It's that's obvious. That's the primary objective. The steering committee has to verify that this worker proposal accomplish you know, their goals as it relates to the KPIs and also to dollars, right? That's the other piece that we need to show, is like, here's how much we were going to spend, and did we spend what we said, right? And so those are the two pieces, Wayne, that you absolutely need to include in your future decks. That those are like the most important pieces that the steering committee needs to review.
Yeah.
I do got to drop, but Wayne, I do want to say I love you having in charge of BD. I love what you're doing there. I love the energy you brought to that, by the way. So don't take this as too negative, but we're all trying to think through like existential things right at the time. But I just want to close with that as well. Kind of definitely a positive thumbs up.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that, Wayne. You're doing a great job. And I think there's just some opportunity to kind of rethink some strategy that's, you know, kind of been passed along your way. So
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I agree. And you know, there's a combination of we've got to define that on these integrations, and I agree. So there'll be more clarity, because some of them are strictly like our protocol. Like, if we're getting into a sector that we haven't been before, the value is getting that out there, getting more use case, and potentially bringing in more partners. Our protocol is more powerful. The more, the more places you can use it, the more spots. But I agree, just like I said initially, like domain registration, that's a big one, and we do have to tackle that one, and that is still something. And that's why all the integrations, the major ones that we're doing, have to include a dashboard. We're not doing them if they don't include the dashboard, or we're seriously cutting what they would get. So I agree, and I'll have some more clarity. I'll definitely get I took some notes and make sure I cover that more in depth, especially, for the next proposal we'll do probably in a few weeks.
sounds great. Well, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank y'all. So everybody else had to drop off. Thanks,
Thanks,
Pablo.
Wayne.
Thanks, Ash.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.